Hey guys, Michelle here of Michelle Beckner Family Wellness. I'm out on my porch and I'm holding my iPad, so we'll see how long my arm lasts before it gets tired. But welcome to episode 7 of the Happy Mama Healthy Baby live show. I think it's episode 7. I think so. Um, yeah, happy Tuesday night. I am being the true calm mom today. I've got hold on, my Bob Marley. Oh, it's probably backwards, yeah. My Bob Marley mellow mood glass of wine. It just froze for a second. Hi, I'm back. Yeah, I'm being like super calm and happy today. Yay, it's a little bit chilly out here tonight. We've had some rain. Announcement, Bradley slept through the night for the first time in a long time last night. He's almost a year old and he still wakes up like once or twice at night to nurse, and that's like miserable for me. So yeah, I'm like loving life today, I guess. But anyway, today I wanted to talk a little bit about meal planning, but not like your typical meal planning tips. All right, my arm's getting tired already. You're just gonna have to watch me slouch. Not like your typical meal planning tips that you might read in like meal planning blogs or food blogs or whatever. Um, yeah, so kind of like the calm mom version of meal planning tips, the laid back version. But first, before I get into that, oh yeah, and you're gonna find out like the worst ever mashed potato experiment that I've ever done. So stay tuned. It's a good one. And it's actually a pretty recent one too. It wasn't like back when I was like just out of college or like trying to learn how to cook still. So where was I? Oh yeah, okay. So if you haven't joined me before, hello again. My name is Michelle Beckner of Michelle Beckner Family Wellness. I help moms take care of themselves so that they can take care of their babies. So Tuesday nights after bedtime, usually like a little bit later than this, but I actually have a call I need to jump on at 8 o'clock, so hopefully I don't talk for too long. So yeah, Tuesdays after bedtime, I'm here talking about happy mama stuff. So I been talking a lot about my calm mom tips, I guess you could say. So if you go to mlbfamilywellness.com/happy mama, I think you can download give me your email and I'll send you the calm mom guide. That's check in, accept, love yourself, and meditate. So we've been talking a little bit about that on Tuesday nights, but tonight we're going to switch towards more nutrition type stuff. And then Friday afternoons we talk about healthy babies. So I help moms whose babies have food allergies or intolerances, breastfeeding moms with babies who have food allergies or intolerances. So the moms have to go on elimination diets, like most common is dairy. So I help moms work through that. I also help moms whose babies might have other possibly diet-related problems. So I talked about allergies. So sometimes colic or reflux is diet-related, eczema or certain rashes, all that kind of stuff. If I help you kind of determine if it is diet-related, and if it is, then I help you through that. And I also do a lot with starting solids, which I haven't talked about too much on my live show. So let me know in the comments or whatever if you're interested in more starting solids things, and I'll talk about that. So that's what I do in a very long-winded nutshell. Yeah, let me make sure that's everything I want to talk about. Okay, so like I said, I want to keep this quick, which I say every single week, and it's never ever quick. But all right, so I put a link to a blog post called How I Meal Plan. It's quite a long blog post because if you know me, you know I'm kind of wordy. But it's basically exactly how I go through my meal planning in a week. And I try to do it every week. I mean, I do it probably 90% of the time. I like to do it on Thursday nights if I can, because then I really like going to the grocery store on Fridays when it's not too busy. But otherwise, we usually go to the grocery store as a family on like Saturdays or Sundays when I know it's like crazy. But I don't know, our family just loves it. Like we bring both the kids. Brian and I both go, and we just like have fun. We make like, I don't know, it's like a family outing or something like that. So yeah, I try to do it every week, and then we do our weekly grocery shopping trip together most of the time. So it's like, a little bit time consuming, but it's totally worth it in the end because all I have to do, so like Sunday, I try to do as much prep as I can, and then during the week, all I have to do is look at the list I made of what I'm making that week, and it's just way less for me to think about that night, right? So meal planning super, super important. It's a really great way to stay calm and sane in a crazy life, whether you have kids or not, really. I mean, it's so much easier to kind of plan what you're cooking for the week. So anyway, so you can check out my blog post. It's got all kinds of good tips like, centering your meals around veggies, planning your meals around what the weather is going to be, stuff like that. But one of my favorite tips for meal planning is to not rely on recipes. So I get inspired by recipes a lot. Like when I sit down to meal plan, I usually have like a couple go-to cookbooks, and then I have tons and tons of stuff on Pinterest. So if you want to check out my Pinterest board, MLB Family Wellness on Pinterest, I have a separate board for like dairy-free stuff, and then also like dinners and things like that. So I usually sit down with my computer so I can check the weather for the week, check out some Pinterest recipes, and have a couple cookbooks. And I just kind of more like get inspired by recipes rather than follow them exactly. And the reason why I think this is really, really important is it saves you food waste, and it saves you a lot of worry about like getting everything perfect every time you do it. So yeah, like if say you pick out like 5 recipes you want to make for the week, right? And then one of them uses like cilantro or some kind of fresh herb or some kind of green that can go bad quickly. You want to, like, so if you're like super pro at meal planning, then you would pick out a couple recipes to make sure you use all those fresh herbs up, right? Like use up that whole bunch of cilantro. So maybe like one night you make tacos, another night you'll make like Indian food because cilantro can be used in Indian food. So the goal for meal planning is to use up everything you've got in your fridge, all right? So, but then when you're relying so heavily on recipes, that could be really, really time consuming to find like a group of recipes that kind of all fit together with everything that you're buying at the store. So that's when you want to kind of like be a little lax with the recipes and experiment here and there with what you have on hand already, or what you're going to have to buy for something else that you really want to make that week, or something that you might end up having left over because you went out for one night last week or something like that. So it's easier said than done, right? Especially if you're not that experienced in the kitchen. It's kind of intimidating to start playing around with recipes when you haven't even really cooked from a... Yeah, I mean, my biggest tip I guess I could give is just get out there and try it and just keep experimenting. There's going to be failures, but there's also going to be things that turn out great. So don't worry, I'm going to get to my mashed potato failure in a second. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, so what ends up happening to me a lot is I'll make a recipe, like, be inspired off of like 1 or 2 things and kind of make up with whatever we have, and then it'll turn out to be delicious, and then I'll never be able to repeat it again. So it's kind of like a running joke in our house that if it's good, then you better enjoy it because I'm never going to be able to repeat it. So I've been trying to be better. My connection keeps cutting out. I hope it's not screwing you guys up for anybody who's watching. And then I just lost my train of thought. Yeah, so then so I was saying I've been getting a little bit better about writing things down. So yeah, I just want to encourage you to experiment in the kitchen. The goal here is to not spend time making complicated recipes or spend forever trying to find exact money. So, or you normally have on hand, or you're going to buy for something else that you want to make, save money, and then that also eliminates food waste. So it's like good all around. Good for you, good for the family because you're less stressed, you're making simple stuff, and then good for the environment because less food waste, right? And I was just going to say one other thing. Oh yeah, and I guess a really other good important tip that kind of came to mind was try to minimize cleanup. That's another, like any kind of one-pan meal, or like kind of a new thing, popular thing I've seen a lot are like sheet pan meals where you just throw everything on a sheet pan and throw it in the oven. That's awesome. So minimizing cleanup, keep that in mind too when you're meal planning. So, all right, so back to experimenting. So I was saying that, sometimes my recipes turn out awesome the first time and it's great. Other times my recipes usually come, or my experiments, I guess I should say, come with a disclaimer. So usually I'm like, well, we didn't have this, so I tried this instead, so, So mashed potatoes. So I've been dairy-free on and off for, I guess, probably about almost 2.5 years now. So mashed potatoes aren't something that we make all the time. Brian loves them, but they're not like my super comfort food, I guess. But dairy-free mashed potatoes aren't really the best, right? Like no butter and no cream. Like it's not super appetizing. So I've tried a few different versions of dairy-free mashed potatoes. And one time I was starting to make mashed potatoes, and then I realized we didn't even have almond milk, which is usually the milk that we have on hand. But I remember, or we didn't have cashews. So like sometimes what I'll do is to make things creamy or to like thicken them, you can soak cashews in hot water for like an hour and then blend them up, and it's like makes super nice, creamy, delicious tasting cashew sauce, I guess you could say. I add it to soups and stuff. So I was like, all right, well, I'll just make like a cashew, like this cashew sauce, or I feel like there's got to be a better word for it, for my mashed potatoes. But I didn't have those either. All I had were raw almonds. So, and almonds need to be soaked for a long time to make almond milk. So I was like, all right, I'll just throw the almonds in with the potatoes, boil them up, and hope that they'll be soft enough to like blend up with the mashed potatoes. I can tell you now that it did not work. So we had mashed potatoes with like chunks of almonds in them. It was so bad. That was probably one of my worst things I've ever done in the kitchen. I mean, it didn't taste bad, but like, you don't want to be chewing on chunks of nuts in your mashed potatoes. So anyway, that's my motivation for you to just get out there and experiment. Don't worry about it. Don't stress about it. Keep trying new things, and the more and more you cook, the more and more successes you will have, and the less disasters you will have. And either way, the disaster, if it's a disaster, it'll turn into a funny story maybe, and if it's a success, then maybe you'll be able to repeat it, right? So just get out there and keep trying. Again, like I said, the point is to eliminate like stress and worry, save time, save money, eliminate food waste, all that kind of stuff. So if you want to know more about how I meal plan, check out the blog post that I linked on the whatever like comments above or to the side, one information there. And let me know in the comments if you have any amazing kitchen disasters that you want to share. Oh yeah, and last thing I forgot to say, if you're worried about like the kids not eating or your husband not eating some kind of disaster that you made, at least my husband can fix anything with a good dousing of hot sauce, so that's always an option if you're into that. B, I guess I should be embarrassed to admit, but I'll admit it anyway. We almost always have a stash of boxed macaroni and cheese stashed away, like a big box of it, so I can resort to that if I have to. It's ready in like 10 minutes if we're not dairy-free at the time. Or you can just order a pizza or go out to dinner or whatever. Like, it's not the end of the world if it's completely inedible. I usually eat my disasters no matter what, but that's just me. I don't have a very, my palate doesn't really care, I guess. As long as there's good veggies in it, I'll eat it. So anyway, thanks for joining me. I probably talked longer than I wanted to again, but well, I'll be back on Friday talking about baby nutrition. Maybe we'll talk about some starting solid stuff. Alrighty, well, have a good night, everybody, and I'll see you soon. Bye!